I want to talk today about flow. So, flow not being the technique where we ground in our body and run that stream and change who we are. That technique called flow um, is different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being in flow. So, what is that? We hear people talk about that idea of I'm in a good flow today. I'm in a good flow. Things are happening for me. Things are going in order. So this is what we describe as flow. But let's really understand flow in terms of our spiritual practice and how flow is kind of like the evidence that we've got a good spiritual practice going. So first we need to understand the purpose of being here today. Why are we here? Why have we taken this human form? So, we grow up and we're looking for meaning and we want to have life purpose that has really good meaning. And understanding, just pulling back and understanding that as a soul, we've come into this human form in this lifetime to have a meaningful life experience. But the ultimate goal, where we end up running into challenges and having different obstacles to overcome, is to learn lessons so that we eventually get to know who we are as a soul. And that idea of seeing our challenges as lessons is really exciting to our higher self, who is the active agent of our soul, prompting us along. And when we start connecting with that and we start understanding that challenges are lessons and that emotional pain and physical pain are messengers. They're messengers for us to understand what do I need to learn from them? Why is this here? What is this here to teach me? And so we look at all our challenges as opportunities to learn. They become less challenging and more as opportunities. Even the most uh, limiting feeling kind of challenges, we might look at the idea behind those being limiting, being limitation itself. And how do I end up learning about limitation and how to not experience limitation? And what is, maybe I need to explore what limitlessness is and that experience. And so in that contrast, I may understand my situation and what my challenge is teaching me, so I can be released from that challenge and move through it. When we start to see an alignment with that lesson learning as prompted by our higher self, we start to see things fall into place. We start to see things that are meaningful challenges to exactly what we need to learn. So if we're getting what exactly we need to learn, we start to see that happening and we start to recognize how meaningful that is. That these are not accidents. That I didn't meet this person arbitrarily. It's not a coincidence that everything is now deliberately falling in my path exactly as it should. That my needs are being met, even if there are new challenges that are relevant to what I need to learn. That's still being in flow in a way because we're recognizing and accepting that because we understand what we need to learn. And so the challenge may present some new idea of what we need to learn, and we may not realize in advance of that challenge that that is what we need to learn, But in hindsight, we might look back and say, wow, that was perfect. That was perfectly timed, and it was a perfect lesson because now I can move in a direction just when I need to move in that direction. This is the awareness of all that coming together is flow. That's being in flow. And so it's sort of listening to our intuition, listening to our intuitive self, which we feel right here in our heart, and paying attention to that, and paying attention now to all the things that we're engaged in that may be challenging, and looking at them and reframing them as life lessons and saying, why am I experiencing that right now? And then the greater view, the more pulled back view, is that we are actually the people who are manifesting these challenges for our own behalf, for our own learning. And that's a little bit more difficult to absorb and to take in. But if we can just begin with the idea of being in flow is not resisting our being. So if we've got challenges that we're dealing with, if we're struggling with something, if we resist those challenges, if we are in struggle, and that's resistance, it feels like we're resisting what we're going through, then we're not in flow. That resistance means we're not in flow. Flow is accepting these struggles as where I need to be right now. There's a greater reason for where I am right now, and I need to be going through this right now because there's a lesson here. And if I can accept it and look at the lesson and investigate it and explore it and say, what the heck is going on here? Why am I experiencing this? Why does it feel like a resistance? And I can look at that resistant feel and say, maybe I don't need to resist this. Maybe I can learn from this. And in learning, I can now move through it easier, with less resistance. And that's flow. So flow, if it feels like you're resisting, that's not flow. Flow is when we don't feel resistance even to our challenges. So that is flow, and what flow does is it feeds itself. The more we can recognize and accept that we are in flow, the more flow happens. And you'll know it because you're going to recognize it and it's going to feel great.